No, you sound good.
Alright, just making sure. Alright, ready?
Yes, sir.
Alright, welcome to a second episode of Cup of Gamespresso. My name is Sheldon Jones, and I'm here again with the same crew, Chris,
Hello.
Darius,
Hello.
and Sean.
Hi.
And we are going to start our conversation today about the upgraded consoles and what we think they're going to what we think they're going to do. They should. I think the PS4 Neo was release date was leaked. Does anyone know when that was?
It's early October.
Early October, and then we haven't heard anything yet about the Scorpio, but it'll probably either come out this holiday season or next, sometime in between there. So what do you guys think the new upgraded consoles are going to do?
I think they're going to be really based around VR, at least the Neo, because I know PlayStation is going to really push that PlayStation VR, and so I think the Neo is going to just try to make VR like a really big thing. That seems to be the way Sony's going with it, anyways.
It looks like I think the older version, like the regular PS4, can still handle it, but I'm sure it's probably not going to be as good quality. Like they might have to lower the frame rate or something.
Right.
I don't even know how you measure pixels and like in 1080p for like that sort of thing, but
Right.
they might do it or something like that.
It's the same thing that a lot of gaming companies do when they're like, "Oh, we're not going to forget about the people who, are still a console behind, but everything would be a lot better if you bought this way more expensive one."
Like, why didn't you just let me keep my 360 another 2 years? Just release it now.
Right.
Oh well.
So, I mean, they are really hammering pretty hard on the fact that this isn't like a new console cycle. So even if it is just marketing speak, like I really do think that both companies are going to try. Uh, is that static just for me? Anyone else hearing that?
Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah, I heard that a little bit. All right, I think we're good.
That's still really loud for me. Sorry. Um, yeah, I was saying they'll keep bringing out games for both. Like they aren't going to make exclusives for the upgraded consoles. It really is just going to be this like slightly upgraded experience. How that ends up working out for general gamers, I have no clue. I don't think really anyone does until they actually come out.
Yeah, I just don't see, like, besides VR, like what would be the main purpose of wanting to spend that much money on one of these consoles. I mean, I guess it'll probably have more hardware space and it'll be a little faster, it'll look a little nicer. But at the end of the day, if it's going to be all of the same software, I don't see how they'll all sell out like crazy. I mean, they're good for, I don't have an Xbox One, so maybe it's like, oh, well, then this is a good time for me to jump on that or something like that.
I think the next big thing for them will be 4K. I think like I've seen a lot of that being sort of into that. Because 4K screen TVs and monitors have sort of been getting sort of. They're getting a little bit more marketable to middle class folks, just like ourselves. Maybe one day we'll be able to afford one. And when we do, we'll be able to have a new console to play. So that's one possibility. Hmm. Is it still that?
Yeah, still staticky.
And maybe we just throw a mulligan on this one.
Look at,
Is it better now?
not really.
Oh. Is that better now?
You're louder, except the statics still haven't gone away.
I have no idea what this is.
That made it go away.
It was gone for a second.
That's because I muted it.
Oh.
I'm gonna unplug my microphone. Maybe that's it. Is that better?
No.
Darius, can you hear it?
Darius, are you alive? Is Darius alive? Okay, so that's good. Is the static still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so average. The nice thing about audio editing is that I can edit this all out. Oh,
Oh. Yeah, now it's gone.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I just put my desk, I just put my laptop in my desk. That's how this works now, because for some reason the fan has decided to become 99% louder in the past week or two. So, that's the thing. So I just put it in the desk drawer, and there's no more sound. But like, we're all good.
Yeah, sounds okay now.
And Darius, are you like able to talk, or? I think that is a no.
He typed yeah earlier, but that's...
Yeah, I know, but can you all hear me?
No.
Nope.
We want to just sort of keep going and hope that Darius' mic goes. Do we want to wait a little bit? Keep leaving the dust.
Well, let's give him a chance to maybe try a different headset, or...
Darius, come back. Come up here.
For a second.
So is
Hello?
that sound coming from somebody's computer?
Sounds like a lawnmower.
Sounds like a slowly dying one, though.
Hello?
Hey!
There's.
Alright, there it is.
Is that you, Sheldon? You're real low if it is.
Hello?
Hey,
All right.
Are we all good?
this all sounds good now.
Okay. What'd you end up doing?
Darius, we can hear you. We can hear me. There's no static. Alright, so I guess I'll just restart on that comment about the 4K. Yeah, right?
Yeah, from whatever you were saying, because that's like right when we couldn't hear.
Okay. Well, I think that is marketing the 4K monitors and the televisions. So I think a lot of the newer consoles will probably be able to support the 4K resolution, whereas if you're just on the older versions, you'll get only the 1080p version, or the 920 typically if you're on the Xbox One. So you know, well, I think that's one thing, especially because now the 4K TVs are becoming a little bit more cheaper for us middle class folk to purchase and all that. So I think that's also going to be another big thing. Whether it's more, I think it's more on the consoles and that they can't run it than the software like engines can support it. I think they've been able to support it a fair amount of them for a while, but they just really haven't been able to because no one has a 4K monitor. And I think right now that's the next big thing they're going to try pushing after VR sort of goes away and stops becoming such as big of like a fad, and either sticks around or leaves the way 3D went, is to be seen. But I think that once the VR gets out of the way, we're going to start seeing 4K be another big thing.
But the thing is, like, how expensive are these new consoles gonna be? Because I mean, on the PC side, like, it takes like a grip and a half to actually like get your PC to do 4K.
So like the leaked price, whether that's right or not, I think was $450. It was 400 euros.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not astronomical, but there is still that question of like, who has a 4K TV? Like, I don't know anyone that does, and so I guess the consoles won't really begin to be all that useful until a couple years down the road when people do start having 4K TVs.
And at that point, they might upgrade them again.
Right. It's along was it the PS3 was the first console that had a Blu-ray player?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like nice because it was part of the new generation of consoles, but it wasn't like a deciding factor of like, oh, I should get this console because I want a Blu-ray player.
Yeah. Until like probably 10 years ago, maybe, was when it was a little bit more ubiquitous, like when you could say Blu-ray and people would go, oh yeah, I know Blu-ray, but like really before then, Blu-ray was just sort of this niche thing that not too many people had. And I think 4K is sort of the same way, especially because it really hasn't been marketed at all.
Yeah.
and it's still like on that upper echelon price wise. But I think that's going to be their next target. I don't know how else it's going to hit because I mean, what else can they really do? You know, like PlayStation's going to talk about VR. It's going to load games faster, and it'll support 4K if you want a 4K TV.
Right.
Do you think it's really more just like future-proofing the consoles, other than like actually being new hardware that they expect people to like buy in droves?
I think Microsoft wants a sales push because they're sort of starting to see like stagnating sales. Not like lower sales, but they're starting to just sort of flatline, and they want to see a little bit of a jump. And then Sony's just sort of doing it because they can play it safe, and like they can come out with an upgraded console, and like like they can spend the money to do that at this point to just maintain their sort of the head that they have. I don't think there's really much of a purpose to the upgraded consoles. I can understand the Xbox One because they sort of want to give it a meteor console because like almost every other time like that I've talked with someone about like a game that's coming on both consoles, they'll almost always side with the PS4 one purely because it's typically got better visuals. It's not always been the case, but it's always tended to run better, run a little bit more smoothly, run a bit quicker, higher frames per second, higher pixel count than it has on the Xbox One. So I can understand from that standpoint, but I think they just sort of decided to Hail Mary it. And Sony was like, all right, we can Hail Mary too. And so they're both trying to do the same thing right now. And then Nintendo's just sitting there like, we got the NX coming out soon. Like,
They never care what anyone else is doing. They just do their own thing. And
yeah.
But what's interesting is that when I talk about these upgraded consoles, in the case of like, well, they're not that much different than the others. That's how I tend to see them. But from the perspective of the fact that I don't have an Xbox One, it's kind of a good move in that sense because I always thought like, well, I don't need to get one. And then when I see these new things, it's like, well, maybe I'm slightly more tempted now than I was with just an Xbox One as it was. Like when I saw the thing about they're releasing the Xbox One S bundle with Gears 4, and that has honestly been tempting me.
So see, that's actually something I'm really curious about. Like, as someone that doesn't have an Xbox One, do you want an Xbox One S, or are you more tempted just to wait for the Scorpio? Like, it's a really weird thing that
that's what's double weird is that waiting for one or the other. Like I said, my biggest temptation right now is the bundle with Gears 4, kind of purely because like I had a 360, I played all the Gears on there, and then nothing else on Xbox One has made me really want to get it. But I love Gears, and that at some point might make me want to, go over to that.
I don't know. Like at the end of the day, I mean, it's mostly just like games that get people to move over to like consoles. So I really don't see like a need to actually pick up these consoles in the first place.
Yeah, no, I was about to go with you, Darius. I was about to say the upgraded consoles just make me wish I had a gaming rig for PC. Because right now, this generation's price point is $800 because they wanted you to buy the first one, and now they want me to go out again and buy the second one.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they want you to get the second one. I think they want me to get one in general.
But at the same time, though, right? Because like right now, I'm a PlayStation 4 user.
Yeah.
And let's just say it comes out. Let's say the rumor is true. It comes out in October. I now know that there's a better version of what I'm playing that was purchased at the same price point.
Yeah.
And I'm playing a worse off quality of almost every product that comes out afterwards. Whereas I could have just bought a PC and could have just gotten a graphics card and been good for 6 years and then upgraded it then.
Well, then that's where software comes in. You know, there's a lot of exclusive PS4 stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I guess me and the other friend that I have was having the same discussion. He had the PS3, and the only thing that he was looking forward to this year was Revelator and Persona 5. And both of them are coming for like PS3, PS4. So he really doesn't see a reason to upgrade at all. I mean, the only difference is like the frame rates and everything, but I mean, you know, he doesn't really care. So,
I mean, yes, for that case, that makes sense, but I mean, there's a lot of games that are not coming out on PS3.
true.
I mean, like, look at how many people are playing Overwatch.
Yeah.
That alone is like, well, you can't play it on PS3, so.
Yeah, but I mean, it comes down to like what you care about. Because I
Right.
mean,
Right, of course.
because
I
I
mean,
mean,
That's how it always is.
yeah. Because
and
I
if you're
mean,
going to start talking about like what people specifically care about, like take a person who doesn't care about specs and like if they did, they would be in PC gaming. Like the person that cares about like having 4K probably already cared and probably already has been building a PC rig. It's a very different audience for consoles, and I don't know how well bringing in like multiple specs will mesh with the console mentality of just give me a box that will play every game.
yeah.
I mean, think about a housewife going into a GameStop and like, okay, I need to buy this console for my son, and now she has like three different options to pick from. She has, she has the Xbox One or the Xbox One S or the Xbox One Scorpio or the Xbox One Scorpio 3 Tetrabyte edition. What's a tetrabyte? Then you have to start getting into like these whole conversations with her to just figure out what consoles are meant for people to just plug in and play. They're supposed to be simple.
But from the business perspective, that housewife is going to walk in there and she's either A, going to be like, oh, he just wants an Xbox One, so I'll just grab the cheapest one. But there's also, the mom that'll walk in there and be like, oh, well, I should get in the best one, right? I guess. And then, that's a lot of money going towards Microsoft.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll be buying consoles like phones pretty soon.
Gosh, that sounds like a nightmare.
Like, I know contract. Here's a 2-year contract for your PS7.
Buy the solder box for your console.
Have you ever seen the theory on the Universal Console that we should just end the whole console war thing? They should just make a big box and like Nintendo and all these other companies should just make games that just work on the box. I mean, I guess that's what PC gaming is. But
one point for PC gaming comes from Chris.
Yeah.
Like, the only problem I can see with that is, like, what's stopping, like, that company from, like, having games, like, $80? And because there's nobody else to compete against that, we just got to pay $80.
Well, then everyone competes against that. If you have a PlayStation and there's 3 good shooters on the PlayStation and one of them's 80 and one of them's 60, you're going to buy the $60 one unless the $80 one is that much better. So if they're all on the same console, you're not going to automatically go for the more expensive one, so they'll lose that on sales.
True.
Yeah.
I just want to
Anyways.
play my games.
That's all we want. Hear that, game developers? We just want to play our games.
Remember when you just plugged in a cartridge and then turned on the console and the game would be on? Remember how simple that
And then it
was?
would glitch a little bit, and then you'd have to take it out and go, and then you put it back in again.
I'm talking about back in the day where you didn't have to watch Solid State smoking for 45 minutes.
Listen to a 30-minute documentary on the Cold War by narrated or directed by Hideo Kojima.
I remember when I first got a PS4. I forget what my first game was, but I put it in. I put in the disc, and it was like installing, and it was like, but I didn't get it digitally. Why does it have to install? I have the disc, and that's just how it is now.
But look at these graphics, though.
Look at them.
Look at the graphics
Arkham
on that
Knight.
loading bar.
Arkham Knight had like a 50 gigabyte install from the disc.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? That may have been the game.
Oh, and remember, like, if you hit the PlayStation button too quick, and like you messed it up to the point where you had to wait 5 minutes for like that operating system to fix itself.
Or if you turn off the or if the PlayStation 4 gets like turned off wrong at all, it has to recheck like the system storage, and you have to sit there and watch it like load up to make sure it's got a hard drive. It's the funniest thing ever. And you're just sitting there, and then it like loads, and it's like you didn't turn the PS4 off properly. It's like I know, and then it turns it off and restarts it. I'm like, come on.
But without all this, we wouldn't be able to watch Netflix on our PS4s.
I think it was the I think it was the Sega Master System. If you didn't put a game like a cartridge in the system, it like every Master System came with this one like Mario-esque sort of platformer. So every single time someone bought this system, they would always have at least one game to play.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Oh, Alex Kidd in Miracle World. That's what it was.
I know that game.
Yeah. Why can't consoles be like that? Why can't I get like a loading screen mini game for when my 52 gigabyte Doom is installing?
Yeah.
But oh well.
Oh well, indeed.
All right. Next up on our list of topics is Battlefront, and whether it's been chained down to the movies too much. Recently, it's been revealed that one of the the last DLC is going to be Rogue One DLC.
The fourth and final.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, for the past few months, when asked why there wasn't a story mode, every now and then some of the developers would state that they didn't want to release a single player. Sometimes they'd say it's because not many people played it. Sometimes it's because they said that The Force Awakens was coming out, and they didn't want to have another Star Wars story sort of coming in at the same time. There was a bunch of different reasons, but so sort of what made Battlefront sort of tick the average scale. Like it never really was great or bad. It was just sort of average, and it feels like a lot of the time they keep going back to, well, we would have done this, but the movie, or we doing this because of the movie, like very specifically. Has that been sort of a problem for the game, or?
I mean, we haven't seen the Rogue One DLC yet, or the movie, so we don't really know much about that. As far as not having a campaign, or not having a single-player campaign, yes, it was a disappointment. But at the same time, when you're working on a franchise with, I don't know how to say it, that's as big as Star Wars, there's some responsibilities. If Disney tells you like, don't put a story mode because it'll mess up our movie, then you just kind of have to go with it. Who knows if that conversation actually happened or if it was just their own decision. But when you make something with the name Star Wars on it, there's probably a lot of pressure and a lot of stuff like that can make you go into those decisions.
Yeah, but I mean, you have so much jump to pull from. I mean, it's like making cereal. You can't mess it up.
No, you can mess it up.
But
You could pour the milk in first.
Yeah, blasphemy.
open the cereal box upside down.
pour the toy into the milk bowl, then your toy is all wet. It doesn't work anymore.
Pour the milk in the cereal box.
Yeah. Basically, there's bad ways to make cereal. It's just very, very hard to do.
That's what we were getting at. For those who hadn't picked up on it yet.
But I mean, if you like pay homage to like all these things in Star Wars, like fans are gonna be happy either way.
Yeah, but look at the prequels. Like, so many people are angry about the prequels.
We don't talk about those.
Okay, well, you're just proving my point. Exactly. Like, they paid homage to all these things, and people are mad about it. So if you make a game and then you put a story in there that people are like, well, this doesn't work because this movie just came out and this goes against what that movie's saying, then even less people will like the game.
You know. But you got to keep the younglings happy, though. That's the thing.
Well, also, like, what demographic is going to be angry at that? It's like that 1% of people that can name the comic where, you know, like Obi-Wan Kenobi picks up tea with his left hand instead of right. Not like, you know, me or you. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a very specific demographic who has issues with continuity issues like that.
Right.
I mean,
Some
that's
people
why
would call
Disney
them
wiped out
enthusiastic.
continuity.
What?
That's why Disney wiped out the continuity.
Exactly, and they could have restarted a little bit using Battlefront, but instead they just sort of went Force Awakens. Don't worry about it.
Well, I think that's why Sean brings up a good point, is that they did wipe the continuity, so they didn't have as much to take from. You know, if Disney was like, oh, we're wiping all this continuity, and then all of a sudden Battlefront had an extended universe storyline in it, people would be like, but wait, what's, like, is this part of it or not?
And
Well,
I mean, something that's worth keeping in mind is, like, it's not that they built the multiplayer and then said, like, we're going to take, like, the next 6 to 8 months off before the game comes out instead of doing a single player. Like, they put all of their time and resources into building the game that came out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, there are statements where they've said, like, oh, we didn't want a separate Star Wars story coming out at the same time. We wanted, Force Awakens to be as impactful as possible. But on the flip side of that, like, they also just didn't have time.
Well, I think it's also too they didn't schedule time, because I don't think they went like they were 3 months away from release and they were like, oh darn, we really don't have time to make a single player story, because they were like, I think they came like you're right on that, like they didn't have time, but I think also they didn't dedicate time to doing a single player because they sort of wanted to focus in on the multiplayer. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's more of a just neutral point of, like, I think they just scheduled in, like, okay, we're going to make a multiplayer-centered game.
Yeah, and they had to get that game out near the time of Force Awakens, for marketing purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Quick question. Does anybody here play it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minorly.
So, I actually
Yeah,
went back and played it a little bit recently.
Yeah, I happen to really like it. I think I'm like level 50, and this is the only online shooter game that I've ever gotten to level 50. So, I don't know. I really like it. But, so, at the end of the day, I think the game is good. But, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think at the end of the day it was all worth it?
So I think it's a good game. Like, it's freakishly gorgeous. I haven't picked up any of the DLC for it yet, except the Death Star DLC actually looks really cool. And that's kind of what caused us to talk about all of this.
Right.
And, I mean, I know the original question was, like, is it too close to the movies? But, I mean, what else should it be? Like, it's...
Well, more of the question was, like, did they focus, like, they put a lot more focus on the way the game would affect the way that, like, the movies. Like, they sort of tried to move the game around the movies rather than just sort of it being its own game. You know, like, they didn't want to do single player because of The Force Awakens, and now they're sort of doing this last DLC for specifically Rogue One. And, like, the way that they're sort of plotting the game very specifically with the movies. Admittedly, before...
Good marketing. Like,
but Battlefront 2 didn't need that.
Well,
Battlefront 2 was Battlefront 2.
No, Battlefront 2 was introduced planets that were in, the episode 3 that came out between the two games. Like all of the Battlefront games have been.
No, Battlefront 2 was 2005.
That's the year that Revenge of the Sith came out, I think.
No, that's 2006.
IMDb.
I'm like 90% sure.
Okay, so like Battlefront 1 didn't have a Mustafar map. Battlefront 2 did, and that's because it was in Revenge of the Sith. Like having the Battlefront games.
But well, I mean, like, the difference sort of was is that they didn't go, you know. They planned it around sort of the series. Like, they didn't just make. They made like a sort of in-between episode. They start off the campaign, if I remember, in between like episode 2 and 3, and then it went through like sort of through 3, but like it had other stuff. Like you went to Felucia and like you did other things, and then you went through the Rebellion as well. So like it wasn't just. It didn't focus and like worry that episode 3 was coming out in a year. It was just Battlefront. You know, like it did its thing. Or Battlefront 2 just sort of did its own thing. Whereas this Battlefront sort of like, all right, we don't want to do single player because we're going to get in the way of Force Awakens, but okay, so we have this movie coming out soon, so we could release some DLC. Like, it's more of a game tailored for marketing these movies rather than being a game. If that makes any sense.
I guess, but I know the reviews aren't fantastic, but they're not terrible either, and there's 2 people here that think it's a pretty good game. And also, I checked, and Revenge of the Sith, according to IMDb, came out 2005.
It did? Alright. Then I'm sorry, I am wrong on that. I could have sworn it was 2006. What year was... I'm going to ask a question on my own and Google it. But, what was it? Like, I'd play it. It's a good game. It's not a bad game, but I don't think... It's a very average game, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't really do anything new. It doesn't really do anything old that's bad. It's a gorgeous game, but it's just sort of there, you know?
Right. Well, here's why I think like attaching it to the movies is a good thing. It's basically like you said. It's a good game. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just there. If it didn't have the name Star Wars or Battlefront, would you be playing that game? If it was just like, guys in space, here's an ice world, here's this world, you wouldn't be playing that game. But you play the game because you're Luke Skywalker and you're a stormtrooper and you're on, Tatooine and all these planets and stuff. And so without that connection, then no one would play the game.
But isn't that sort of a sign then that the game isn't good? Because if you took out Star Wars and just made it the mechanics of the game and the way the game was implemented, then you probably wouldn't be playing the game. Like, sort of...
No,
try to imagine a property that you could watch or play when you remove the franchise, like, behind it, or the universe behind it. You have a game that... So, like take The Witcher 3, for example. Like, not... The Witcher 2 and Witcher 1 were, like, sort of popular, but they didn't really hit mass market appeal until The
Witcher 3.
So, like, not many people that went into The Witcher 3 knew about Geralt and all of that. I personally didn't.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if that was ever. That obviously wasn't everyone's experience, but a fair amount of people hadn't played the two before it. So essentially, they had no idea about this world and anything in it. But it became popular because of the way the game was implemented, rather than for fan service, sort of.
Well, could you argue that I guess the reason those games weren't popular because they were on PC, and then The Witcher 2 came to like Xbox One like later in like the console's life cycle?
Yeah, no, that could definitely be an argument. Also, The Witcher, if I remember correctly, The Witcher One's like controls were sort of like piloting like an aircraft.
Oh
But
yeah.
So
I think your
It didn't
argument
really-
is right. I mean, I think like obviously Battlefront should be better, but I also don't. I think once again when you work with a franchise that's as big as Star Wars, then you get the ups and downs of it. You get the ups of like, well, everyone knows it, so everyone's gonna buy it, and then you get the downs where it's like, but there's a lot of pressure on it. You have to work with what's given to you.
Yeah, at the very least, they laid like a good foundation for. Okay, they didn't make a bad game. So at the very least, if I like when I hear talk about Battlefront 2, I'm like sort of positive about it because I'm like, all right, the last one wasn't horrible. The game mechanically worked well and it looked gorgeous, and like they have an understanding of they at the very least now have feedback as to what was wrong or
Right.
what they don't think went out so well and what did work out well. So like. Hopefully they use that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we get that Jar Jar Binks DLC that Darius has been wanting for so long.
Oh yeah, I mean Darius all the time. He just never stops talking about it. He's like, when are they gonna add Jar Jar? When are they gonna add Jar Jar? It's like, God, Darius.
Talk about Street Fighter V. He's like, where's the Jar Jar DLC?
Yeah, where's the Jar Jar in Street Fighter V?
No, we're not.
5.
We're not talking about that DLC right now. No Street Fighter 5. No.
His ultimate will be like the Misa no step in the poo poo, and he just stomps their foot or something like that.
Imagine that the rumor that Jar Jar is a Sith Lord is revealed as Street Fighter V DLC. Like he just shows up in Street Fighter V as the Sith Lord.
Hey, I would buy that.
I would too. Honestly, I don't own Street Fighter V. I think I would have to buy the game, then get that DLC just to play as Sith Lord Jar Jar.
If they told me I could only get it if I played the special edition, I'd probably purchase the special edition just to see that play out.
Just to see how that goes down.
Like, I want to see Jar Jar either beat everyone or get the crap beat out of him by everyone. I don't know which one I want to see first, but did you hear that, Capcom?
Weren't Darth Vader and Yoda playable characters in like Soul Calibur?
Yeah, it was Yoda and Star Killer, the guy from Force.
No, it was Darth Vader.
Vader was there.
So like,
Oh, he was on. Yeah, you're right. Vader was because I had the Xbox One, and then Vader was on the PS3.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And then.
But they both had Star Killer.
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah. And then, if I remember correctly, Soul Calibur 2, you had the GameCube version and you got Link.
Yeah, who was awesome, by the way.
I have that version. He is awesome.
He's
But
so good.
the one who's better, which I didn't get sadly, is the Xbox version because they get Spawn.
Yeah, and the PlayStation 1 had Hayachi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish more. I don't know. I wish more consoles would do something like that. Like that was really cool. But then probably nowadays they would just all be DLC and then be on every console.
No, we might end up having a problem that like Mortal Kombat's having at the moment. Like Alien's top tier.
Oh yeah. So then they just nerf him. Whatever. And is that a problem that Alien is awesome?
Like the problem is like the balancing in like MKX is kind of garbage right now.
Well, that has nothing to do with the characters. That just has to do with balancing.
It has really nothing to do about
Like-
Battlefront DLC.
Like honestly, like if I had to pay like $5, $10 for a DLC character, they have to be good.
That's right.
So
Or,
they gave
but,
you, so,
or
you-
they
so
just
you're
have
saying
to
they give you
It's just like an accurate representation of Alien, right? Like, Alien kills everyone.
All right, and then our last topic of the day, the pros and cons of episodic gaming. Hideo Kojima of Kojima Studios, owned by Hideo Kojima, recently stated, saying that episodic gaming will be the future of gaming soon, and that we'll eventually see like a majority of games being made episodically rather than as wholesale chunks. So how do you guys feel about
No. Mainly because of the fact that after a while you stop caring. Like if you're not invested in it, like somebody will tell you like, oh, episode's 3 out, and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, I played episode 1 and 2, and I just don't care. Like I feel that you'll have like a point where you'll drop off versus like playing it all the way through and then, you know, just not caring.
I think if episodic gaming becomes bigger and it'll kind of just be like TV, well, you'll be like, oh, I started all the way back in episode 1 and I've been doing each one through. And then you have a friend who's 6 seasons behind on Game of Thrones and they're like, I caught up this weekend. And you're like, oh, God. Like, that's what I think it would happen. But I honestly, I've never played an episodic game. So I don't know how exactly they work out, if people like it, if people don't. I've never played one.
Like,
So, sorry,
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, for episodic games, the idea is, hey, here's this episode. Play it while we continue to develop the game. Here's the second episode while we start making the third, and kind of this broken up, staged development so that companies can actually start making a profit on the game before having to do the entire thing. So it's kind of to fund development throughout.
But,
And the problem is, like, that sounds all well and good, except that doesn't actually make sense from a, like, actual release standpoint, because you end up with things like Hitman, where they're like, yes, we're bringing out an episode a month, and then like 2 months later they're like, here's this next episode, don't ask us when the next one is. And you just end up with fans getting angry because they fall off that schedule and there's so much time in between episodes, and it just doesn't end up being that cohesive, here's an episode, here's an episode, here's an episode experience going through.
Well, I'm sure someone could do that, and that's the thing. Like, if Kojima's right and everything becomes episodic, then it will get to the point where if you wind up doing that, then you'll fall off, and the company that sticks with their once a month agenda, like, they'll reap the benefits.
I think the one thing too is like the more mechanically heavy your game is, the harder it is to do episodically. Like, you know, the Telltale games, they're sort of, the only one I've ever fully played through is Tales of the Borderlands, and I'm pretty sure it's the only game that's actually made me like sit there alone in my dorm room, gut-wrenching, like tears in eyes, laughter. And I bought it on sale over Christmas, like the Christmas sale, like all of them. So like episodic for me was just I bought them all in one chunk.
Hey, you binged watched.
Yeah,
Binge played.
literally. That was a night and a half. But so like I haven't had the experience of just playing one episode of time. I think I'm actually going to start that with the Batman one that's going to be coming out soon. Just because I'm actually curious to feel the experience of like how it is when you're sort of separated by that like release date. So like Yeah, so mechanically heavier games I think are harder to do because you sort of have to implement most of your mechanics on episode 1.
Yeah.
You know, like with Hitman, they can't just go, you know what, we're gonna introduce bullets in episode 3, so we don't have to worry about those. Or, you know, like, and especially with Hitman because Hitman is either like Grand Theft Auto or a very well timed puzzle game. Um, so like gravity mechanics, and all that sort of stuff gets played into it. And I think that's sort of the issue that they hit is they're also sort of trying to fix bugs that have been around with their mechanics since the first episode, on top of trying to release on a normal schedule. I think it works for some games. I don't think it'll work for every game, definitely. Like, I'm trying to imagine The Witcher or, like, any of the Arkham series being released episodically. And no.
Yeah.
Like, the only way I could see like big games working like that is if they have it split up kind of the way that The Last of Us did, where they were like seasons, and each of those seasons were like their own contained part of the story.
I can see
Yeah.
like a Star Trek game being like episodic. Like if they went back to like the original series style episodes, and you know like you had like a mission an episode and all that sort of stuff, and you can have them go to like one planet or like you know something simple like that. Like it works really well for very specific concepts, but like general gaming, I'm not sure how well it would pan out.
Now I just can't stop thinking about how much I would love an episodic Witcher game.
You want an episodic Telltale's Witcher game. That's what you want. I can see it in your eyes.
I'm good.
But like The Witcher started as a series of short stories, like, and I just think that would be awesome.
I know, and then it turned into the 120-hour love fest that it is.
Well, if you like kind of took that short story format and then took kind of the act different closed region format of the second game, and you put those together and you made the regions a little bit smaller, but then sorry, I'm getting all excited about this. I want that really badly.
No, there's definitely a way they can do it, but I don't. But like especially the way they had all the different areas interact with each other, you know, like being able to go in between place to place like that. Like if it was done episodically and you were just sort of at one place at a time, you know, like on the one hand it could be awesome because you get to sort of immerse yourself in that one area for extended periods, but also at the same time, like the entirety of the world doesn't have that fluidity to it. So it would depend on how, you know, obviously we'll never know unless they actually release it episodically. There's a universe where that happens, Sean. I'm sorry to say it. There's a version of you right now playing that game. But that's not our universe, sadly. But I definitely think it can be. I think it's mostly from the way they plan on developing it. Like, it can be done well either way.
I don't know why. I guess just because you said like there's a universe where that exists. I'm just picturing like Sean grabbing like a Rick and Morty character and shooting a portal gun and trying to find the universe in which it exists. Come on, Morty. We gotta go find the Witcher episodic one. And he's just going.
And it would just be him like pointing portal guns everywhere so that he can get every single episode downloaded from all the different areas.
Oh god, that'd be funny.
Yeah, for an episodic game, AAA game to work, because honestly, I don't think that Hitman has really nailed it. Just because they haven't been able to keep to that schedule. So for it to actually work, I think it would take a very different development approach.
Has anyone here played Hitman?
No.
So I played the first episode.
Okay. And how did it play out?
So I mean, it was a small chunk of content, and the whole basis of Witcher, or not of Witcher, sorry, of Hitman,
He's
is
obsessed.
you have these like hub areas that you go, you explore, you figure out. You every time you go through it, you learn more things that help you the next time you go through it. So each episode has been like another of these areas, and if they had been able to keep to the one episode a month schedule, I think it would have worked out better. That people haven't been entirely happy with Marrakesh, and now they're doing like a summer bonus episode in between, where they're like doing redone versions of 2 of the previous areas. So I don't know.
Do you think if like they gave themselves a different schedule, like if they explicitly said, episode 2 will come out in like 2 or 3 months, and they actually did, like if they said it came out whenever it did come out, and like it sort of held to that schedule, that the game would have held better merit? Is it really just the fact that they're sort of having to go back on their release date statements that's really holding the game back, or is it just sort of in general feel a bit messy?
Well, so every episodic game, including like all of Telltale's, whenever there's like huge chunks of times between the episodes, I forget if it was Christopher and Darius who was saying it, but like you just lose touch, like you aren't interested anymore, and if you go longer than a month between episodes, you're going to start losing people.
Yeah, it should be faster than DLC. And DLC for a big game like Witcher, Battlefront, or whatever, they've come out like every 2 or 3 months. So you want it to be faster than that, I think, if you're going to try to tell a cohesive story or whatever.
Like every other week would probably like do.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, you'd want every other week or something like that. But if they can't do that, at least once a month.
But at that point, then, like, at what point is it just better off to just wait the extra 4 or 5 months and just get it done in one disc?
Depending on what releases during that time. Because imagine, like, if I release my episodic game and, like, the next month, like, Fallout 5 happens. Like, I'm not selling anything. I might as well quit.
That's a good point. But what about the opposite case where, like, let's say you weren't sure if you wanted to buy a game or not, and it's like $60, so you're just kind of hesitating. But if every game was episodic, kind of like a TV show, you're like, oh, well, I'll watch the first episode, see if I like it. So maybe more companies would make money just like, oh, you buy one $10 thing. If you don't like it, then you don't buy any of the others.
But then would you buy it, like, all bundled? Like we do at the Telltale games? Because if that's the case, what happens if, like, I buy a bundle for, like, the season, and, like, in the middle of the season they decide to cancel the game?
Well, I don't think...
It's the exact same thing when, like, Firefly gets canceled. Not to hurt anyone's feelings.
Get over it, Sheldon.
But, not that anyone else would be upset about that right now. I mean, like, 2004? No, it's only been 12 years. But, whatever. But I think it'd be the same concept. The one nice thing I think that episodic gaming's been doing is, like, after a while they'll release the first episode free. So it's sort of like a DLC. Or not DLC, wow. It's like a demo.
Yeah. Yeah, so then if that's the case, then, that would be good for a lot of people.
They're bringing back demos.
I love demos, frankly.
No, they're called betas now.
Oh, yeah, paid beta. Yeah, you gotta pay for them now. Or you got to get on EA Access.
Or teasers, playable teasers.
Yeah, that service is good, though.
Yeah. So episodic gaming. How much more of it do you guys think we'll see? Like past the Telltale series, like that's
I
done
don't
well
know.
because Telltale's already like solidified themselves into like we've got this down. Don't even ask us about like episodic gaming. Like they're doing a good job with it so far.
Well, isn't the Final Fantasy VII remake episodic?
I think they're doing
No.
episodic because the game was on multiple discs and they're trying to like
Cut it down.
So
cut it down.
I thought that came out as a mistranslation.
I just remember seeing that in passing, so like I'm literally just going off of what I read in passing.
Yeah, so
That's why.
so
Yeah, I have
Final
no
Fantasy
idea.
VII isn't actually like episodic. Like I think they were talking about the fact that like there'll be multiple
Yeah.
Hmm.
games, and the fact that like
I mean, did
Final
anybody?
Fantasy VII actually is like 3 different games if you count all of the tie-ins.
True. Did anybody ever play any of the Dot Hack games on PS2?
No.
No.
Watched the show, didn't play the game.
Okay, well, like the games were like split up into 4 parts. So like you had infection, mutation, quarantine, and then outbreak, then quarantine. So like those were kind of episodic in a way. And like I'm trying to think. I think those came out like 3 months between each other.
Oh. Until
was-
Dawn was sort of like semi-episodic. I've been playing through that a little bit every now and then, and like every now and then it just sort of hits a point where it goes previously on Until Dawn, and I'm like, I've been sitting here playing it for 2 hours. I don't know, like I know what just happened. Like you don't need to update me. I'm here. It has like these very obvious points of like you should have stopped playing the game now, and you should come back tomorrow. Something like that. It doesn't tell you, but it does. So that was sort of episodically done.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, like I don't know how the development went, but like the way the game piecemeals itself, it could have really easily been done episodically. Like it's sort of in an episodic state already, like the way they like sort of cut every now and then.
Well, each level in the game has an introduction of previously on. And I mean, other games have done it too, like Battlefield Hardline. So the problem is the like very distinct difference between having an episodic like format and actually releasing episodically. Because I don't know, we haven't really seen anybody make a full game and then release it like one chunk every week, kind of turning it into an event. And I think that would be interesting to see, but nobody's done it so far.
Yeah. I think if they're releasing it like once a week at that point, there's just sort of an impetus to just release it. If that like the once a month thing sort of gives time for like finishing up parts, but like once a week, it's like at that. Because I'm trying to imagine like a development team like every single week is just like coming in. It's like, all right, we're making a new level, and then the week after that, all right, we're making like like it has to. Once a week seems too quick.
Well, think about it like a TV show. Like every episode of Game of Thrones is an hour. So if you have these episodes in a game that take about an hour, then I don't know. Maybe if they came out once a week, there would be more hype. Like imagine there was a game that came out, and you went on Facebook after the release, and everyone you knew was just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happened! Can't wait till the next one." You know, that might. I don't know. Do you kind of see what I'm saying here? I mean, maybe that's
more like a
wishful
TV show. Because like episodic right now has just been like 5 games, or like 5 episodes. Really, the most I think 5 or 6. I can't remember. I think the Game of Thrones one was 6. Or I could be completely wrong on that.
Game of Thrones was 6, and then I think Hitman is doing 7
Okay.
total.
I could like if it was doled out probably much like a little bit smaller content than I guess like to hour long sort of segments. That would be interesting to see. But I think that would almost be it'd be a different type of episodic gaming because like I don't know, the current episodic games are still like somewhere but depending on how you play 2 to 5 hours long, like depending on which game you're looking at and how long you're playing it. Like each segment is still like a good amount of time. So that would be interesting though to see like a TV show-esque sort of way of developing a video game.
Yeah.
Product placement everywhere.
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not though?
This episode's brought to you by Guinness.
No, like in the middle of your decision, your character like takes a drink out of like a Coke bottle.
Or like just as a QuickTime comes up, a Clorox commercial comes up or something like that. Like why not try Clorox bleach? All your stains removed.
It's like a really intense scene where like the building you're in is collapsing, and someone's like, "General, you have to make a choice," and he's like, "Yes," and it's the choice of a new generation, and like clicks the Pepsi can or something like that.
No, or they do like the Man of Steel movie, and like the fight scene like happens outside. And
and there's like
you get knocked into like an IHOP and a Home Depot.
Honestly, wouldn't you love a game where you got knocked into a building that wasn't just gray building and it was like an IHOP or a Dunkin' Donuts or something? I think that would be great.
I can see it happening. This is our future. Upgraded console.
It should. I would enjoy Grand Theft Auto way more if I could crash my car into a Dunkin' Donuts rather than an obscure building.
Well, no, those have fun names. I think in like Grand Theft Auto 3, one of the cafes was actually just named Wankers.
It's funny.
Like that was the name of a cafe that you can go to in a Grand Theft Auto game because that's people from the north of England trying to understand what Los Angeles is like and inner city.
Wankers.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So basically, the future of gaming is episodic Grand Theft Auto with a Dunkin' Donuts in 4K.
Team ballot. Yeah. And then
that off-color statement.
Episodic. Hold on. Episodic walking outside with your mobile. Dunkin' Donuts ads coming on your phone while catching creatures. I don't know. Something like that.
Also Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's always Star Wars. You have to catch Ewoks while walking around and drinking Dunkin' Donuts.
Can we? No, but seriously though, instead of Pokeballs, it's like the little nets that they throw.
Yeah.
What is about?
And the entire time, like in the background, it's just like the end of episode 6. That song, num num.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Well. Well, I think that's all we have on episodic gaming. It'll exist. For how long or how popular it becomes, who knows?
Don't know.
Definitely one of us, because we sort of all had different opinions on it. So one of us is right. We'll have to come back into this and figure out who was right. But until then, my name is Sheldon Jones, and this has been another episode of Cup of Gamespresso. Thank you guys for joining me.
Well, thank you.
Yo,
Bye.
Triss is